Hello and welcome to the introduction to your course IP&T 286. I am your instructor for this semester. My name is Anna-Keith Garcia and I would like to give you a little introduction. This is for those of you who either weren't in class with us for the first day or if you want to just go back and review, and hopefully we'll get enough information that you have an idea and feel comfortable with what's going on. But you're always welcome to get in touch with me or our TA and ask us any other questions that you have. First of all, I'd like to do this with a video because we'll be having a lot of videos this semester, a lot of different tutorials and things that you'll have to look at. And it won't always be me. There's other instructors teaching other sections of this course, and we like to, if one of us creates a really nice tutorial, share it around the department. So sometimes you'll see an unfamiliar face, but hopefully it'll always be something helpful that will get you right back on track. So first of all, I wanted to tell you a little bit about where I come from, and then a little bit about the background to this course and what kind of things we'll be talking about, what's expected of you, etc. And first of all, I wanted to share kind of an interesting little personal experience about a course like this. I did my undergraduate degree at Montana State University, and I graduated in 2004. Back in the day, I was an elementary ed major for a while. That's not what I ended up graduating in, but I started out that way. And when I was in elementary ed, I took a course very similar, at least for all intents and purposes, to what this course is now. At the time, I think it was the year 2000 that I took that course. Things were a little bit different technology-wise, especially the way teachers were expected to learn and use technology in the classroom. And my assignments for that course included laminating things, cutting things out with the die cut, making copies, and making transparencies. At the very end of the semester, what we did was created a video with some educational purpose, and we did that all on VHS. We had to check out a VHS recorder, microphones, make ourselves a video, and turn it in on a tape. And so it's funny to me that even within, I don't think I'm that old, but within my lifetime, things have changed so rapidly that now a course like this is so totally different. But I think that a good illustration looking at something like that is that technology is something that's going to change not just every year, every 6 months, every month, but your education, if you do it right, is not going to be obsolete. I don't feel like I wasted my time, even though now I look back and laugh about how often I have to use the overhead projector. But having a good educational background in how to use technology will help you to be a better teacher 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Some of you will be the 75-year-old veteran still at your school district who can look back and laugh about the things you learned back in the day. But these skills on how to use and integrate technology, and especially how to become comfortable learning new technologies on your own, are going to be really helpful in the years that come, no matter where you end up or what you end up doing. So first of all, I wanted to show you a little diagram I put together, and this is an indication of some things. I've got some images here, and I wanted to ask which ones of these are technologies. So go ahead and take a look at these and think to yourself, which one of these would you call technologies? We've got what looks like an abacus up there in the corner. Don't know if you've had experience using one of those. We've got a poster. This is one from Mexico I thought was kind of neat looking. We've got an iPod. We've got a chalkboard, and then we've got a calculator. So take a look for a minute and try to decide for yourself, which one of these would you count as a technology? Now I've asked this to different students, and I always get a different set of answers, and there's not going to be, there's going to be an argument you can make for any of them, but what I'm going to argue is that all of these are technologies. They're just at different levels of sophistication, or they're for different uses. There's places in the world where an abacus is still a very important part of a classroom education. I was a missionary in Japan, and down the street from where I lived was an abacus school, and a lot of parents would send their kids there on the weekends to brush up on their abacus skills. And someone who's trained really well can calculate faster on an abacus than on a calculator. So while we don't think of that as being very high-tech, and we maybe think of it as being outmoded, in some situations that's going to be really helpful. So things like this, even the good old chalkboard and chalk are technologies. They're things that we use to create a difference. They're things that people have created to make one of their jobs easier. Let's think of some other ways we can define technology. In class, we did this exercise together. We looked at this question: what is our definition of technology? And had different students come up with what they would say is a good definition for technology. You can think about that on your own, and there's a couple different ways that you can end up phrasing it. But I'm going to say, for our intents and purposes here, a technology is something that humans design and create to make one of their tasks or one of their goals easier to obtain. And so in that definition, in that understanding of what technology is, you are already very proficient in a lot of technologies. And you're lucky enough to be proficient in technologies that your parents and grandparents didn't feel comfortable using. So if there's anyone here who feels hesitant or a little bit technophobic about this semester, I wanted to make this point to kind of soften the blow and let you know that there's a lot of technologies you're already using. There's a lot that you're learning to use every day, and your ability to use it in the classroom has nothing to do with how high-tech you are or how much of a computer person you are. It has a lot more to do with how willing you are to learn and how creative you are in using what you have in your classroom. So the skill we want to teach you this semester is integrating technology into your teaching. This is a model from some recent research they've done about the different kinds of knowledge that successful teachers need to integrate together. The first is content knowledge. That would be history, science, whatever subject it is you're teaching, making sure you know that subject. The second is pedagogy, which is effective skills of teaching itself, whether you're asking good questions, using good classroom management, etc. The final kind of knowledge that you want to have is technology, technological knowledge. If you want to use technology in your classroom successfully, you should probably know a little bit about the technology itself. But having these three kinds of knowledge independently doesn't help unless we learn to integrate them together. So we would like to teach you and hopefully help you gain for yourself what's known as TPCK, or Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge. We don't want you to just be proficient in one or two of them. There certainly are teachers that are. We've all had the classic teacher who really knows his stuff and you have no idea what he's talking about. That's a content knowledge teacher, but he needs to integrate those skills with the other two. So hopefully by the end of this semester you'll feel confident not just in your knowledge and your pedagogical skills, but also comfortable enough with technology to integrate that together and try to get that sweet spot in the middle that's going to be most effective for your students. Another reason a course like this is important is because of what you're looking at here. This is a picture of your future students. Whereas you might have grown up in a world that was a little bit different, your future students are growing up surrounded by technologies. They're using iPads, they're using smartphones, they're watching DVDs on demand, so we're going to have to learn how to teach to generations who know a little bit more than we do. Even though we have this unprecedented level of connectivity and technology use with our students in classrooms, we're still finding with our research that most students aren't using them in learning settings. And why do we think this is? In class we have a little bit of a discussion about this, but the summary that a lot of researchers have found is, first of all, there's a little bit of fear still on the part of teachers and administrators about having that technology available in the classroom. A lot of that fear comes from ideas about control, classroom management. They still see it as a distraction. And of course, there's legitimate concerns about internet safety. There's a lot of stuff out on the internet that we don't necessarily want in our classroom, and we have to figure out how to work with the good parts of that technology while getting around and keeping them away from the parts that aren't so great. So part of our challenge at becoming experts in technology use in educational circumstances is how to get past this, how to use them well and use them intelligently so that your students have a positive experience, and how to teach your students to do that on their own so that in the years to come they'll be able to use things safely and well and for their own benefit. Another thing that a lot of students are worried about when taking this course is that maybe they don't know everything, they don't know enough to teach everything. I can tell you with a little bit of certainty that you're never going to know as much as some of your students, especially on certain technologies, but this isn't something we have to be afraid of. I'm sure there's some technologies that some of you are a lot more proficient at than I am. My personal background has a smattering of technology in it, but I'm certainly not an expert in everything. I started out studying graphic design, and so I used a lot of technology in terms of Photoshop, illustrating on the computer, and some web design, but I'm not necessarily the best programmer in the world. I'm not going to be the expert on all things computer related, but I learn a little bit as I go. I learn the things that I've needed for the courses I've taken, and I've learned from past students. So we're here in this class to teach each other, to learn from one another, and if you've got something that you've developed a particular talent at, a technology that you've enjoyed or been exposed to, I'd love you to share that with us as well, and you can teach us what you've learned. So don't be afraid about knowing everything. None of us do. But we're all here to learn how to be better. I'm going to use the word stewards of technology and be better managers of using it in our life. The goals of this class, we have a few of them, as we've stated. The technologies you learn are going to be outdated as soon as you graduate, so it's not part of our realistic goal to be able to make you a master of everything that's available. But we do want you to learn some basic skills in especially Web 2.0 technologies that you might be able to use right away. But we also want you to build a portfolio that's going to be able to show future employers and give you future opportunities to say, here, I do know how to use these technologies, this is what I've done. And we've got a system known as badges that we're going to be introducing that will help you to do that. And our third goal is we want you to learn how to learn. So there's kind of a joke among people who are pretty computer proficient that people around them think that they're this amazing computer whiz who knows how to do everything, but really every time they get a question, they go to Google and type in how do I, and eventually find out how to do it. So a lot of being a good user of technology is knowing how to find answers, knowing how to teach yourself, and knowing how to dive in when you haven't ever used anything before. So the final thing I want to discuss, talking about this course, is the idea of blended learning.
Will it blend? That is the question.
This course is designed as a blended learning course. Some of you may have had a course designed like this before. For some of you, this may be your first introduction. It is a little bit different from an online course. Some of you might have experienced those. And what blended learning is a hybrid between online learning and face-to-face learning. There's been a lot of studies done. A lot of my colleagues here at BYU work on research in that department, and they're trying to find out what has the best outcomes, online learning, face-to-face, what are the pros and cons. And the idea of blended learning has been developed as kind of taking the best of both worlds. We've taken the benefits of face-to-face instruction and tried to pair those with online instruction and come up with something that's going to help you have the best experience. And it has been shown in a lot of the research that blended learning does have a lot better outcomes than either fully online or fully face-to-face. There are required parts of this class that will be in the classroom. There, you can see on the class schedule when those days will be. I do want to get to know each of you, and I want you to feel comfortable in coming in and talking face-to-face when you want to. There's also going to be required online content, and the way that will work is the weeks that we're not meeting here physically in class, there will be a required online discussion that you take part in. This is pretty short. It's not going to take up an hour of your time. So the rest of the time is left to tutorials that you can look through on your own. For those of you who either look through the tutorials and still have some questions or would like to come in and work face-to-face, every single week I and the other instructors are going to be in the actual classroom, and we will be there to answer any questions, work with you one-on-one. You know, depending how many people show up that week, you might get private tutoring each time. It'll still be physically in the same class, same time every week as your current section, and the sections are geared more toward your specific major, but you can also attend the other sections any other weeks if you'd like to go see tutorials from other instructors or during different times. And it's going to always be 4 to 5 o'clock, but it's on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all those different sections. The sections are usually in the McKay Building, room 150, except for the Wednesday section, which some of you are in, which is in the Smithfield House. So the biggest key to success in this blended learning model is to pay attention to the calendar. The one downfall of online learning that we find is that students don't quite take it as seriously because it's not a be there, show up obligation. They kind of tend to put things off. We try to ameliorate that in the blended learning environment by having things due on the specific days in the calendar and still have it be as if you're showing up to class even if you're not there physically. So we're going to use the website called Canvas that we're introducing this week, and Canvas is going to have that calendar updated. As of now, everything is planned out certain weeks. If things do change throughout the semester, they will change on Canvas first. So that will always be your go-to source of the right information if you have any doubts or questions about that. So thanks for being a part of this class. I look forward to meeting each of you and working with you this semester. And please feel free to come in and talk with me anytime you want to. And I look forward to having a great semester with you. Thanks.